The taste of blood was still fresh in my mouth as I sat in my rusted 1998 Ford pickup, watching 200 guests celebrate my daughter's wedding on land that had been in my family for 3 generations. My name is Garagos Mark, and today I'm playing the role of a poor farmer who can barely afford the ill-fitting suit jacket hanging loose on my 70-year-old frame. Through the windshield, I watched Madison glide across the south lawn in a dress that cost more than most people's cars. She looked beautiful. She looked terrified. And she'd made her choice before the vows were even spoken. The white tents billowed in the Texas wind. Imported orchids perfumed the air. A 12-piece orchestra played for the 3rd time because Tyler, my soon-to-be son-in-law, insisted everything be classy. I reached for my blood pressure medication on the dashboard. My hands trembled not from age but from swallowing rage 3 times daily for the past 6 months, ever since Tyler graciously offered to help manage the ranch. A knock on my window startled me. Father O'Brien stood there, concern creasing his weathered face. "Garagos, you coming in? Ceremony starts in 20 minutes. I rolled down the manual window. "Just taking a moment, Father." "You don't approve of Tyler?" Not a question. "Does it matter?" I asked. "She loves him." "Does she, or does she need him?" The distinction hit harder than I wanted to admit. 10 years ago. The memory came sudden and complete. Standing on Stone Industries' Chicago headquarters roof, wind whipping my tie, the city sprawled beneath me like a kingdom I'd built from nothing. Thornton Webb held the portfolio containing sale documents. $2.8 billion, Jerry, he said. "You could buy a small country." "I don't want a country. I want time." Below, Ruth sat in the car, her headscarf hiding chemotherapy's effects. We had maybe 5 years left if we were lucky. 5 years I'd stolen from her building an empire. I'd signed the papers, walked down 60 floors, and climbed into the car. "Are you sure, Jerry?" Ruth asked. "You wanted sunsets. I'm giving you sunsets." We'd driven to Stone Ranch, land my grandfather won in a poker game in 1947. Ruth walked through the wild grass with wonder in her eyes. "This is heaven," she whispered. We'd had 3 good years before the cancer returned. I held her hand as she died beneath the ancient oak tree she loved. Her last words, "Jerry, don't let anger poison this place. Promise me, whatever happens, this land stays good." I'd promised, but I hadn't known how hard that promise would be to keep. "Mr. Mark?" Father O'Brien's voice pulled me back. "Are you all right?" I climbed out, straightening my jacket. "Let's go watch my daughter make the biggest mistake of her life." As we walked toward the ceremony, I saw Tyler holding court near the bar, his spray tan looking orange in afternoon light. He wore a white tuxedo he'd charged to my credit card without asking, along with the honeymoon, the wedding planner, and the ice sculpture already melting in Texas heat. The crowd parted as I approached. I caught fragments. Just a corn farmer now. Used to be somebody important. Probably doesn't own this land anymore. Let them talk. That was the point. Tyler saw me. His expression flickered with something that might have been fear before his practiced smile covered it. "Jack, looking sharp, old man." The emphasis on old man wasn't accidental. Before I could respond, the orchestra shifted to the wedding march. Madison appeared on Ryan's arm, my 38-year-old son, CEO of a Boston tech startup. We hadn't spoken more than 20 words in 5 years, not since Ruth's funeral, when he'd said true and unforgivable things in the same breath. But today, he'd agreed to walk his sister down the aisle. Our eyes met, a moment of silent understanding. Whatever our issues, we both loved Madison. As she passed, I saw what others missed, the tightness around her eyes, the death grip on Ryan's arm. This wasn't a bride's excited walk. This was a woman trying to convince herself. Father O'Brien told me later what happened. Madison sat before the mirror in Ruth's old bedroom. "Cold feet?" he asked gently. "Is it normal to feel like you're jumping off a cliff?" "That depends. Are there rocks at the bottom or water?" Madison laughed, edged with hysteria. "Father, I know Tyler's not perfect. I know he has debts. But after Dallas, after the Charles Winston case," her voice cracked. "The man jumped from the 15th floor because I didn't fight hard enough. I missed a filing deadline. He lost everything, then jumped. Madison, that wasn't your fault, wasn't it? I was his lawyer, his last hope." She looked at her reflection. I couldn't look at myself after. I quit. Came home. And Tyler, he made me feel useful again. He needed me. He didn't care that I was broken. And do you love him? The pause was too long. I need him, Father. Right now, that's close enough. Father O'Brien studied her. Perfect love casts out fear. But it sounds like you're marrying Tyler because you're afraid. Maybe being afraid is better than being alone. Father O'Brien shared this with me later. It changed everything. My daughter wasn't fooled. She was actively choosing Tyler despite seeing red flags because her own guilt made her feel undeserving of better. That realization would haunt me for months. The vows were traditional. Tyler's voice carried confidence he'd practiced in mirrors. Madison's was softer, uncertain. When they kissed, the crowd applauded. I clapped along, playing my part. The reception followed. Too much champagne, appetizers that looked like art, a DJ who couldn't read the room. I stayed at the back, nursing water, counting minutes until I could leave. Then Tyler took the stage for toasts. He grabbed the microphone like he was born holding one, white tuxedo jacket abandoned, shirt unbuttoned to show his gold chain. The spray tan looked worse under stage lights. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here on the most important day of my life. The crowd cheered. But I noticed what they couldn't. His hand trembled slightly. His eyes kept darting to the driveway, expecting someone unwelcome. I want to thank my beautiful bride, Madison, for seeing something in me nobody else did. He paused. And I especially want to thank my father-in-law, Jack Mark, for his incredible generosity. My stomach dropped. Folks, I have an announcement that'll blow your minds. Jack, stand up, buddy. Every eye turned. I stayed seated. Come on, don't be shy. Slowly, I stood. My chair scraped wood like a warning. Tyler spread his arms wide, gesturing to the hills, the cornfields, the house where Ruth died. My generous father-in-law has decided to give Madison and me this entire ranch as a wedding gift. Stone Ranch, all 3,000 acres, is now ours, the foundation of our empire. The crowd erupted. People turned to me with approval. But we'd never discussed this. This land was Ruth's legacy, where I'd scattered her ashes, the promise I'd made to keep it good. My blood went cold. I walked toward the stage, footsteps deliberate. Applause faltered as people read my face. Tyler's smile froze. I climbed the stairs and took the microphone from his hand. No. The word cut through celebration like a gunshot. That's not true. This farm is not for sale. It's not a gift. It belongs to me, and it will stay that way. Silence. 200 people held their breath. Tyler's smile widened, but his eyes went dead. He stepped close, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. Looked like embrace, felt like a vice. Dad, you're confused. Remember? The doctor said you'd have good and bad days. He leaned to my ear. Don't embarrass us, old man. Nod and smile, or you'll regret it. I pulled away. I'm not giving you this land, Tyler. Not now, not ever. That's when it happened. Tyler backhanded me across the face. The force caught me off guard. I stumbled backward and fell. I hit the ground hard. Blood filled my mouth, copper and salt and humiliation. Through blurred vision, I saw Madison stand from her table. This was the moment when she'd defend her father. Madison took 2 steps toward the stage. Tyler held up a hand. It's okay, everyone. I'm so sorry. Madison froze. Dad's been having these spells, gets confused, loses balance. The doctors warned us. We're taking care of him, I promise. He signaled to 2 groomsmen, burly men who moved like bouncers. They hauled me up by my arms and escorted me past silent guests, past melting ice swans, past the orchestra that had stopped playing. Let's get you home, old-timer, one said, not unkindly. They deposited me at my truck. I climbed in with shaking hands, tasting blood, feeling where Tyler's ring cut my cheek. I drove 2 miles to the main farmhouse, the house I'd built 40 years ago, where Madison was born, where Ruth died. I just wanted to wash my face, take my medication, and sleep. But when I reached the gate, my remote didn't work. I got out and walked to the keypad. Brand new. A sleek digital smart lock with camera had replaced my grandfather's iron padlock. The red light blinked mockingly. Behind me, an engine roared. Tyler's black SUV tore up the driveway, headlights blazing, skidding to a stop. Tyler and Madison climbed out. They hadn't even stayed for cake. What is this? I asked, pointing to the lock. Security, Jack, Tyler said, punching in a code I didn't know. The gate swung open. He stood blocking my path. Since you're obviously declining, as everyone saw, Madison and I are taking over property management, for your safety. I live here. My medication's inside. Not anymore. Tyler grabbed 2 black garbage bags from the SUV and tossed them at my feet. One split, spilling my shirts and blood pressure pills into dirt. I looked at Madison. Honey? She flinched but didn't meet my eyes. Tyler stepped between us. We're moving into the main house tonight, but we're not heartless. He pointed toward the tree line. You can stay in the old tractor shed. It has a roof, more than you deserve after tonight. The shed. A corrugated metal shack unused for 20 years. Rusted parts, rat nests, spider webs. No insulation, no water, dirt floor. Tyler, I said, my voice dropping to a register unused for a decade, you're making a mistake. The only mistake was thinking you still mattered. Now get your trash out of my sight before I call Sheriff Cole and have you committed for senile dementia. I have friends in town. They'll believe me, not a crazy old man. He got back in the SUV. Madison finally looked at me, really looked, and I saw tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Daddy, she whispered. But she got in the car anyway. They drove through. The electronic lock buzzed shut, sealing me out of the life I'd built. I gathered my things from the dirt, walked the half-mile to the tractor shed in darkness, my ribs aching. The door hung crooked. I pushed it open. The smell hit, stale oil, rodent droppings, decay. Moonlight filtered through roof holes, illuminating dancing dust motes. I cleared space on the workbench and sat on an overturned bucket. From the house, I heard music, Tyler's victory party. I should have felt defeated. Instead, I felt something stirring that I'd buried when I married Ruth. The ruthlessness that had crushed competitors and negotiated billion-dollar contracts. I reached to a loose floorboard I'd hidden years ago. I pulled out a waterproof Pelican case containing a fully charged satellite phone and black notebook with account numbers and protocols established a decade ago. I powered on the phone. The screen glowed blue in darkness. I dialed a number I hadn't called in 10 years. It rang once. This is Thornton Webb. Thornton, I said, no longer a trembling old man. It's Garagos. I need you to activate Protocol 7. Silence. Then, Mr. Mark? Protocol 7 is for kidnapping, coercion, or immediate threat to your life. I'm in a shed on my own property because my son-in-law assaulted me and locked me out. He forged documents claiming I have dementia, and he's planning to sell my land to cover gambling debts. Holy hell. Typing in the background. Protocol 7 activated. Full audit by morning, legal team on standby. Do you need immediate extraction? No, I need you to let him think he's winning. Monitor everything, calls, emails, bank accounts, but don't interfere, not yet. Sir, if he's dangerous, he's desperate, Thornton. Desperate men make mistakes. I want to know every mistake, and when the time comes, I want to take everything. Silence. Then, the scorched earth policy. I haven't seen you like this since the Belmont takeover in '95. This is different. This is family. That's exactly why it's more dangerous, for him. I hung up and sat in darkness, listening to rats scurry and Tyler's distant music. Tyler thought he'd won, thought he'd humiliated an old man and seized his fortune. He didn't know he'd just woken something that had been sleeping for a decade. And I was going to destroy him so completely, he'd wish the mob had gotten to him first. The first night in the shed, I didn't sleep. I sat on that overturned bucket, my back against the cold corrugated metal, watching the lights in my house through the gaps in the walls. Around 2 in the morning, those lights finally went dark. Tyler and Madison were asleep in my bed, in the room where Ruth died, celebrating their victory. I pulled out the satellite phone again and texted Thornton. Need eyes on the property. Discreet. His response came in seconds. Already done. Sheriff Cole is a friend, correct? Old friend. High school. He'll make contact at dawn. And Jerry, the preliminary audit is disturbing. Tyler's deeper than we thought. I didn't respond. I just waited for sunrise. Sheriff Raymond Cole's patrol car rolled up to the shed at exactly 6 a.m., just as the Texas sun painted the sky in streaks of orange and purple. Ray was my age, 70, but he wore it better, still fit enough to pass the physical every year. He climbed out slowly, his hand resting on his belt in that casual way cops do. But his eyes were sharp, taking in everything. The shed, my split garbage bags, the bruise blooming on my jaw. Jesus Christ, Jerry, he said, dropping the professional tone we'd maintained in public for a decade. Thornton called me at 5 a.m., said you were living in this rat trap. I didn't believe him. Believe it, Ray. He walked closer, studying my face. That's assault. I can arrest Tyler right now. No? I stood up, my ribs protesting. Not yet. Jerry, I need you to trust me, old friend, like you trusted me when we were 17 and I told you to ask Betty Morgan to prom even though she was dating the quarterback. Ray smiled despite himself. She said yes. Married her 6 months later. And you're still married 48 years later, so trust me now. I need surveillance on Tyler. I need to know who he talks to, where he goes, what he's planning. Ray studied me for a long moment. Then he pulled out a small black device from his pocket. Body camera. Records audio and video. Technically, I'm supposed to use it for traffic stops, but it malfunctioned yesterday and I haven't gotten around to replacing it. I took it. How long's the battery? 72 hours continuous. And Jerry, when this is over, when you've done whatever you're planning, you call me first. Before the feds, before anyone. These are my roads, my jurisdiction. I want to be there when that son of a bitch goes down. After Ray left, I waited for my opportunity. It came at 9 a.m. when Tyler's black SUV roared down the driveway. He was going into town, probably to file paperwork, make calls, start the process of liquidating my assets. Madison would be alone. I approached the house through the cornfield, moving quietly despite my aching ribs. The kitchen door was unlocked, Tyler's arrogance making him sloppy. I slipped inside, the camera already recording in my shirt pocket. The house smelled different. Tyler's cologne hung heavy in the air. Ruth's decorations, the watercolors she'd painted, the dried wildflowers, had been taken down, stacked in a corner like trash. I moved quickly to the kitchen, planting the first audio transmitter under the granite island overhang. It stuck instantly, invisible unless you knew where to look. Footsteps on the stairs froze me. Madison descended in yoga pants and one of Tyler's oversized shirts, her hair uncombed, her eyes red from crying. She saw me and gasped, "Dad?" We stared at each other across the kitchen. My daughter, the girl I'd taught to ride a bike, to stand up to bullies, to fight for what was right, now standing in my kitchen, wearing the shirt of the man who'd assaulted me. "What are you doing here?" she whispered, glancing nervously toward the driveway. "I came for my medication." Not a lie. The bottles were still on the counter where Tyler had dumped them. "Madison, you need to go. If Tyler comes back, what? He'll hit me again, in front of you, and you'll look away again?" She flinched like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed, a bitter sound. "You want to talk about fair? That man announced he owned my land without asking me. He struck me in front of 200 people. He locked me out of my own house, and you stood there and let him. He said you were confused. The doctors—" "What doctors, Madison? Name one doctor who's examined me. Show me one medical record that says I have dementia." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Tyler lied, and you chose to believe him because believing him was easier than facing the truth." "What truth?" Her voice rose, defensive. "That you never wanted me to marry him? That you think I'm making a mistake? I know you hate him, Dad. I've always known." "I don't hate Tyler." I moved closer, lowering my voice. "I pity him, because he's drowning, and he's going to take you down with him unless you let go. You don't know him like I do. He loves me. Does he, or does he love what you represent?" Madison's jaw tightened. "Get out!" "Madison, get out!" She was crying now, backing away from me. "Just go! You're trying to ruin my marriage. You're trying to make me choose." "You already chose, sweetheart. At the wedding. You chose him." I grabbed my medication and walked out, leaving my daughter sobbing in the kitchen. But as I left, I saw something that gave me hope. Madison immediately went to Tyler's laptop on the counter, staring at it with an expression I recognized. Doubt. Thornton arrived at midnight on the third day, parking his Jeep Wrangler on the old logging road that bordered the property. He wore flannel and jeans, looking more like a rancher than a man who managed billions. He handed me a tablet. "You need to see this." The screen showed email chains, bank statements, geological surveys. But one email made my blood run cold. From Tyler Brennan to Dr. Richard Hammond, Geological Surveys Incorporated. Date, 8 months ago. Dr. Hammond, thank you for the preliminary report on Stone Ranch, Texas. The lithium concentration in Sector 4 is exactly what we discussed. Based on current market prices, you estimate $40 to $60 million in extractable reserves. I'm attaching payment for your discretion. Once I secure legal ownership through marriage to the landowner's daughter, we can proceed with the Sterling Energy negotiations. This stays between us. Tyler Brennan. I read it 3 times, each time feeling sicker. He knew, I said. Before he even met Madison, before he proposed, he planned this. Thornton nodded grimly. It gets worse. He swiped to another document, a private investigator's report. Surveillance target, Madison. Ruth Mark. Age 32. Occupation, former attorney, resigned after Charles Winston case. Psychological profile, vulnerable, guilt-ridden, isolated from family. Financial status, personal savings approximately $400,000. Father's estate estimated $50 million plus. Recommendation, subject is ideal target for romantic manipulation. Recent trauma makes her susceptible to savior narrative. Recommend approach at Java Junction coffee shop where she frequents. Use struggling entrepreneur persona. The words blurred as rage clouded my vision. He'd hunted my daughter like prey, found her at her most vulnerable, weaponized her guilt over Charles Winston's suicide to make her feel grateful for his attention. That calculating son of a bitch, Thornton breathed. Does Madison know? I don't know, but Jerry, we need to tell her. This isn't just fraud. This is sociopathic. I thought about my daughter's face in the kitchen, the way she'd defended Tyler even through her tears. No, not yet. If we tell her, she'll think we're trying to sabotage her marriage. She has to discover it herself. And if she doesn't? She will. Madison's brilliant. She's just been in survival mode, but she's waking up. I was right. While Tyler thought she was being the obedient wife, Madison was unraveling his lies thread by thread. It started small, noticing that Tyler's business meetings always happened when she was asleep. Finding credit card statements for places he claimed he'd never been, the locked laptop that he guarded like nuclear codes. One night, while Tyler passed out drunk after celebrating another real estate deal, Madison made her move. She opened his laptop. Password was her birthday, which would have been romantic if everything else wasn't a lie. She started with his email. What she found destroyed her. The PI report, the geological surveys dated before their first date. Draft prenuptial agreements. Tyler never showed her, specifying he'd get 50% of any inheritance from Garagos. Madison printed everything with shaking hands. She hid the papers in her mother's old closet, behind boxes of Ruth's clothes that Tyler wanted to throw away. Then she drove to the cemetery at 3 a.m. She sat in front of Ruth's grave, the papers scattered around her in the grass. "Mom," she whispered to the headstone, "I'm so stupid. You always told me to trust my gut, and my gut said something was wrong, but I was so lonely. After Charles died, after I quit, I felt like I'd killed someone. And Tyler made me feel like I could be forgiven." The wind rustled through the grass. But he never loved me, did he? He just saw a broken woman sitting on a gold mine. In the darkness at the edge of the cemetery, Garagos stood beside his truck, far enough away that Madison couldn't see him, but close enough that he heard every word. He wanted to go to her, wanted to hold her like he did when she was 5 and had nightmares. But she needed this moment alone with her mother. Tomorrow, she'd be stronger. Ryan Mark's rental car, a sensible Toyota because even as a tech CEO he refused to be flashy, pulled up to the shed at dawn on day 5. He climbed out slowly, taking in the corrugated metal walls, the holes in the roof, the garbage bags still lying half empty in the dirt. I was sitting on my bucket, drinking coffee I'd made on a camping stove Thornton had smuggled to me. "Sheriff Cole called me," Ryan said without preamble, said my father was living in a shed like a dog. I told him he had the wrong number, because my father wouldn't let anyone treat him like that. "Hello, Ryan." "Don't hello Ryan me." He walked closer, and I saw the anger vibrating through him. "Why didn't you call me?" "You made it clear at your mother's funeral that you didn't want to hear from me." "I said you were a shitty father," Ryan shouted. "I didn't say I wanted you beaten and homeless." The words hung between us, true and terrible. "You were right," I said quietly. "I was a shitty father. I missed your games, your graduation, the birth of your son. I chose work over family for 40 years. Damn right you did. And I can't change that, Ryan. I can apologize. I am apologizing. But I can't give you back the childhood you deserved. Ryan's jaw worked. He looked so much like his mother in that moment. The same fierce eyes, the same inability to hide emotion. Jake asked about you last month, Ryan said finally. He's 3. Found a photo of you and Grandma Ruth. Asked when he could meet Grandpa Jerry. And I didn't know what to tell him. What did you say? I said Grandpa lives far away, which is technically true. You're 2 miles from the main house living in a shed, and I didn't even know. I stood up, my ribs still aching but healing. I didn't want to burden you with my problems. We're family. That's what family does. We burden each other. Something in my chest cracked open. Since when did you become wise? Since I became a father. Turns out, having a kid makes you understand your own parents better. Makes you realize how easy it is to fuck it up. Ryan looked at the shed, then back at me. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to destroy Tyler together, and then you're going to meet your grandson, and you're going to be present, actually present this time. Deal? I extended my hand. Deal. Ryan pulled me into a hug instead, and I realized it was the first time we'd embraced in 5 years. Also, Ryan said, pulling back, I'm a tech CEO. Tyler thinks he's smart because he can forge a signature? Wait till he sees what happens when someone hacks his entire digital life. That's illegal. So is elder abuse. I figure we're even. Tyler's preparations for the signing ceremony were grotesque in their excess. White tents covered the lawn where Ruth used to plant wildflowers. A stage was erected exactly where Madison was born during that thunderstorm in '92 because the hospital was too far. Catering trucks arrived with food that cost more per plate than most people's weekly groceries, and Tyler ordered me to serve drinks. Put this on, he said, tossing me a moth-eaten tuxedo jacket that was 3 sizes too big. You want to be part of the family? Earn your keep. Madison stood in the doorway of the house, watching. She didn't protest, but she didn't look away either this time. She held Tyler's gaze with something new in her eyes. Knowledge. I put on the ridiculous jacket without argument. Tyler wanted to humiliate me? Perfect. Let him think I was broken. As guests arrived, corrupt politicians, shady businessmen, social climbers, I moved through the crowd with champagne flutes, playing the doddering servant. But with each glass I served, I whispered, to Judge Walter Garrison, the Cayman account ending in 7743, the one Tyler donated $50,000 to your campaign from. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit finds that very interesting. To Mrs. Eleanor Patterson, your husband's mistress in Austin, apartment 4B. The deed's in her name now. Thought you should know before the divorce attorney does. To the corrupt planning commissioner. Zoning violations on the Elm Street development. I have the inspection reports you buried. $50,000 bribe. That's federal. One by one, they paled. One by one, they made excuses and fled. Tyler noticed the exodus but couldn't figure out why his guests kept leaving. He was too focused on the main event, Sterling Energy's arrival. The convoy of black vehicles rolled up at noon, armored limousine flanked by 2 SUVs, professional, expensive, serious. Jonathan Caldwell emerged in a navy suit that cost more than Tyler's car. He was older now, salt and pepper hair, lines around his eyes, but I recognized him instantly. 30 years ago, he'd been a junior analyst at Stone Industries. I'd mentored him, taught him how to read balance sheets, how to spot frauds. Now, he was CEO of Sterling Energy, and he'd come to buy my land from a man who didn't own it. Tyler practically ran to greet him, hand extended, smile manic. Mr. Caldwell, welcome to Stone Ranch, soon to be Sterling Lithium Mine Site 1. Caldwell shook Tyler's hand briefly, dismissively, his eyes already scanning the property. And then he saw me. I was standing 20 feet away in my ridiculous oversized jacket, holding a tray of champagne, looking like exactly what Tyler wanted me to look like, a senile old servant. Our eyes met. Caldwell froze. The color drained from his face. Jonathan? I said quietly. Tyler didn't notice. He was too busy ushering Caldwell toward the signing table. Everything's ready. The power of attorney is executed. The land survey is complete. Excuse me, Caldwell interrupted, his voice tight. He walked past Tyler like he didn't exist. He walked straight to me. And then Jonathan Caldwell, CEO of a multi-billion-dollar energy conglomerate, did something that made every person at that party go silent. He bowed, not a nod, a full, respectful bow. "Mr. Mark," he said, his voice carrying across the lawn. "Sir, we had no idea. The Stone Trust, we thought it was a distant relative, a corporate entity. If I'd known you were still alive, that this was your land." Tyler's smile cracked. "Wait, what? This is Jack, my father-in-law. He's just a farmer." "Jack," Caldwell finally looked at Tyler. "This man's name is Garagos Emmanuel Mark. He built Stone Industries from a three-man construction crew into the largest infrastructure conglomerate in the Midwest. This man designed half the bridges you drive across. He's not just anything." The crowd erupted in whispers. I removed the moth-eaten jacket. Underneath, I wore a crisp white shirt that Thornton had brought. Ryan appeared from the crowd, carrying a charcoal suit jacket, one of mine from the old days. I shrugged into it. It fit perfectly. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice no longer the wavering rasp of a confused old man, but the commanding tone of a CEO who'd negotiated with presidents and prime ministers. "I apologize for the deception. My name is Garagos Mark. I retired 10 years ago with $2.8 billion in assets. I came to this land to live quietly with my late wife, but my son-in-law had other plans." Tyler's face went from confusion to panic to rage in 3 seconds. No, this is bullshit. You're senile. You signed the papers." "I signed," I agreed, "but what I signed was a distress signature, a variation I use only when under immediate threat. That signature triggered Protocol 7 in my trust. The FBI has been watching you for 5 days, Tyler. Every call, every email, every fraudulent document you filed." From behind the main house, federal vehicles appeared, black SUVs with official seals. Tyler's legs gave out. He collapsed into a chair, staring at the approaching vehicles like they were his execution. Caldwell cleared his throat. "Mr. Mark, Sterling Energy had no knowledge of any fraud. We were approached in good faith. I know, Jonathan, you're not at fault, but there will be no sale today." Caldwell nodded, already signaling his team to pack up. "Of course, sir. And sir, I'm sorry for not recognizing you sooner. You were looking at what Tyler wanted you to see. That's his gift, deception." As the FBI agents crossed the lawn, Tyler looked up at me with desperation. "Please, Jack, Garagos, please. I made mistakes, but I can fix this. We can work something out. You have the money now. Just help me." "Help you?" I looked down at this man who'd struck me, humiliated me, hunted my daughter like an animal. "Tyler, I am helping you. I'm stopping you from becoming exactly what your father said you'd become." Agent Patricia Vance reached the stage. "Tyler Brennan, you're under arrest for elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud." As they cuffed him, Tyler's eyes found Madison in the crowd. "Baby, please, tell them I love you." Madison stood there, holding the printed emails and PI reports. She walked slowly to the stage. "You investigated me," she said quietly. "Before you even met me. You planned this whole thing." "No, yes, at first, but then I fell in love with you for real." "Don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't lie to me anymore. I spent 2 years thinking I was crazy for having doubts, thinking I was broken for not trusting my husband, but I wasn't crazy. You're just a really good liar." She turned and walked away as they led Tyler to the police car. The party dispersed in chaos, and I stood on the stage in my father's suit jacket, watching my son-in-law's carefully constructed lies collapse like a house of cards in a Texas windstorm. But this wasn't victory yet. This was just the beginning of the reckoning. The silence after my revelation lasted exactly 30 seconds before chaos erupted. Tyler stumbled backward, his face cycling through disbelief, panic, and finally rage. No, this is bullshit. You signed the papers." "I did," I agreed calmly, "with a distress signature, a variation I only use when under immediate threat of death. That signature triggered Protocol 7 in my trust 5 days ago." Caldwell and his Sterling Energy team were already packing briefcases, backing away from the legal disaster Tyler had created. "Mr. Mark, we had no knowledge of fraud. We were approached in good faith. I know, Jonathan, you're not at fault. But there will be no sale." A new sound cut through the murmurs, the growl of a heavy engine. A matte gray pickup with tinted windows tore up the driveway, skidding to a stop beside the catering trucks. Tyler's face went white. "No, not now, not here." Two men climbed out, thick-necked, leather-jacketed, moving with the casual menace of professionals. Vincent Russo, I'd learn later, the man Tyler owed $7.2 million. "Tyler," Russo's voice carried across the lawn, "we had an appointment, Friday, noon. Where's my money?" Tyler backed away, hands raised. "Mr. Russo, the deal fell through, but I can explain." "Explain?" Russo's laugh was cold. "You gambled my money on crypto and lithium fantasies. Now you're going to pay, starting with fingers." Madison stepped forward, and this surprised me. "Stop. If you want money, I'll give you money. I have savings, 400,000. You can have it all. Just don't hurt him." Tyler stared at her, shocked. Despite everything, despite knowing she'd discovered his lies, Madison was still trying to save him. "400K? Russo shook his head. "It doesn't even cover interest, sweetheart." I stepped off the stage, every eye turning to me. "Mr. Russo, I'll buy the debt, 10 million, cash wire in 5 minutes. Russo studied me. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone with money. Do you accept?" Thornton appeared at my elbow, tablet ready. "Wire transfer prepared, Mr. Russo. Confirm your account." Russo rattled off numbers. Thornton tapped the screen. 30 seconds later, Russo's phone chimed with a notification. He checked it, then grinned. "Pleasure doing business, old man." He looked at Tyler. "You're lucky you married into money, kid, but if I were you, I'd quit gambling." Russo and his men left as quickly as they'd arrived. Tyler sagged with relief for about 10 seconds. Then the FBI vehicles rolled in. Agent Patricia Vance led the team, her credentials held high. "Tyler Brennan, you're under arrest for elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud." Tyler didn't fight as they cuffed him. He looked at me with desperate eyes. "You saved me from Russo. Why? Why help me if you're just going to have me arrested?" "Because," I said quietly, "I didn't do it for you. I did it for my daughter, so she wouldn't have to watch you get maimed, but that doesn't mean you don't face consequences." "Madison," Tyler called as they led him away. "Baby, please, I love you. Tell them I love you." Madison stood there, holding printed papers, the PI report, the emails, the evidence of his deception. She walked slowly toward the police car. "You investigated me before you even met me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You planned everything." "At first, yes, but then I really fell in love." "Don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't lie to me anymore. I spent 2 years thinking I was crazy for having doubts, but I wasn't crazy. You're just a really good liar." She turned and walked toward the house as they drove Tyler away. The party dissolved. Guests fled. Caldwell and Sterling Energy departed with apologies. Within an hour, the ranch was empty except for family. 3 days passed before Madison spoke to me. I found her in the kitchen early one morning, staring at the coffee maker like she'd forgotten how it worked. Her wedding dress hung in the corner, still dirty from where the hem dragged in dust. "Coffee?" I asked. She nodded without looking at me. "I made it the way Ruth used to, strong, with just a touch of cinnamon." Madison took the mug with both hands, warming them. "You paid off his debt," she said finally. $10 million. Why?" "Because you asked me to, in the only way that mattered. I chose him over you at the wedding. I looked away when he hit you." "I know. So why save him?" I sat across from her at the table, Ruth's table, where we'd had 1,000 family dinners. "Because despite everything, you tried to protect him from Russo. That told me something important. You still have your mother's heart. She would have done the same thing." Madison's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have believed you. I should have stood up for you. You were scared. You were guilty about Charles Winston. Tyler exploited that. He found you at your most vulnerable and weaponized your pain." "How did you know about Charles?" "Father O'Brien told me after everything fell apart." Madison set down her mug. "I killed him, Dad. If I hadn't missed that filing—" "Stop." My voice was firm. "Charles Winston killed himself. That was his choice, not yours. You were an overworked attorney who made a mistake, a human mistake. You didn't put the gun in his hand." "But I failed him." "Yes, and you'll carry that. But carrying it doesn't mean you have to punish yourself by marrying men who don't love you." She flinched. Tyler loved me in his way. In his. No, sweetheart. Tyler loved what you represented. There's a difference. I slid the PI report across the table, the one that detailed how Tyler had selected her as a target, how he'd orchestrated their chance meeting. He hunted you, Madison. Like prey. She read it with shaking hands. When she finished, she was crying silently. I'm so stupid. No, you're human. You made a mistake, just like Charles Winston made mistakes, just like I made mistakes with you and Ryan for 40 years. We're all just doing our best with broken pieces. What do I do now? I reached across and took her hand. Now you heal. Really heal. Not with a man, not with me bailing you out, but on your own. You find Madison again, the brilliant lawyer who fought for people, the woman your mother raised. I can't go back to law. I can't face it. Then don't go back. Go forward. Be a different kind of lawyer, or be something else entirely, but be someone who chooses herself first. Madison nodded slowly. I need to leave. I can't stay here with everything that happened. I know, but not like before. I slid an envelope across the table. There's a trust fund, $500,000, but you can only access it after you hit 3 milestones. She opened the envelope, reading the conditions I'd written. 1. Work full-time for 6 months at any honest job. 2. Complete therapy, paid from your own salary. 3. Write a letter to your mother explaining what you've learned. And if I fail, she asked, then you try again. Stones don't quit. We adapt. Madison looked at me, really looked, for the first time in years. Thank you, Dad. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be hard. I know. But I need hard. I need to prove I can stand on my own. Ryan found me in the barn that afternoon, repairing fence posts. He grabbed a hammer without asking and started working beside me. We worked in silence for 20 minutes before he spoke. I was wrong about you. You were right about me. I was a terrible father. Yeah, but Ryan hammered a nail with more force than necessary. I became you. I have a son, Jake, 3 years old. Last month he asked when I'd come to the park with him. I said I was too busy. Exactly what you always said to me. I stopped working. Ryan, I'm moving the company to Texas, remote work. Jake's going to grow up on this ranch, and I'm going to be present, actually present, and I need you to teach me how. How to be present? I don't know how to do that. Then we'll learn together. Ryan met my eyes. I wasted 5 years being angry. Mom died and I blamed you, but you were here with her at the end. I wasn't. I was in Boston building a company because that's what marks do. We build things and forget about people. We break the cycle now, I said, with Jake. Deal. Ryan extended his hand. I pulled him into a hug instead. I love you, son. I should have said that every day of your life. I'm saying it now. I love you too, Dad. The federal detention center smelled of industrial cleaner and despair. Tyler shuffled in wearing orange, looking 20 pounds lighter, his spray tan long faded. He picked up the phone on his side of the plexiglass. You came to gloat? I came to give you this. I slid a letter through the slot. Tyler opened it with shaking hands. It was from Madison. Tyler, I don't forgive you for what you did to my father, but I understand why you did it. You were broken by your own father's abuse. Hurt people. You'll be here 8 to 12 years. I'm not waiting. But when you get out, if you've truly changed, maybe we can be friends. My father has set up a fund. If you attend therapy and addiction counseling, it will cover legal fees to reduce your sentence, not because you deserve it, because everyone deserves a second chance. Madison Tyler stared at the letter, tears streaming down his face. Why? After everything? Because my wife Ruth used to say, healed people heal people. You were hurt. You hurt others. Now it's time to heal. But if you waste this chance, there won't be another. I stood to leave. Mr. Mark? Tyler's voice was small. Thank you. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I nodded and walked out. I was on the porch when Madison's car pulled up. She wore a professional suit, hair tied back, carrying a briefcase. She looked like Ruth, confident, purposeful, alive. Dad? She practically ran up the steps. Welcome home, sweetheart. She opened her briefcase. I did it, all 3 milestones. Inside were pay stubs from her job as a public defender in Seattle, a therapy completion certificate, and a 10-page handwritten letter to Ruth. Read it, she said, handing me the letter. I read her words about courage, about learning to stand alone, about forgiveness. For me, for herself, even for Tyler. "You did it," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "So can I access the trust?" "No." "What? But you said you don't need it anymore. You proved what you needed to prove." I led her inside to Ruth's old art studio, now renovated. "This is yours. Open your practice here. Help people in rural Texas who can't afford lawyers. And the trust? I'll match every dollar you earn. You build your own wealth. I just support it." Madison threw her arms around me. "Thank you, Dad." Ryan appeared with his wife and Jake. "And we have an announcement." Ryan handed Madison a document. "Dad, Madison and I have created the Ruth Mark Foundation for Second Chances. $20 million initial funding. Will help people rebuild after financial abuse and addiction. Tyler will be our first case study when he's released," I added. "Debt forgiven, but he'll work for the foundation, helping others avoid his mistakes." Madison stared. "You're forgiving his debt?" "Your mother would want us to. If we believe in second chances, we have to live it." 5 years later, the ranch hosted another wedding. Ryan and his wife renewing their vows. At 75, I sat on the porch watching family celebrate. Madison stood with David, a local teacher she'd been dating for 2 years. Good man, patient, kind. Tyler appeared at the gate, released early for good behavior. He didn't enter, just stood outside looking in. Madison saw him and walked over. They talked briefly. She invited him to help serve drinks, not as humiliation, as service, as redemption. Later, I stood under Ruth's oak tree, placing wildflowers on her marker. "We did it, Ruth. Madison's home, Ryan's home. The ranch is alive with laughter, just like you wanted." Jake ran up. "Grandpa, push me on the swing." I lifted him onto my shoulders. The family gathered as sunset painted the sky gold. Voiceover. "People say revenge is sweet. They're wrong. Forgiveness is sweeter, because revenge ends with others' destruction. But forgiveness ends with peace, and peace is the only gift worth keeping." The camera pulled back, showing the ranch. Golden cornfields, family together, the house warm with light. Home, finally home.